Okay, everyone, here we are. It is our Wednesday morning webinar, and I am so thrilled to be with you. We are just like loaded with content today. The subject today is probability increasers. I'm going to talk to you about that in two ways that I use it. The webinar is going to be filled with what I call counterintuitive statements that will help you be more successful in real estate. And counterintuitive statements can be so powerful. But I'm also going to talk to you before I start the webinar about how I use this probability increaser terminology, use this characterization in a very effective way when I'm working with sellers, when I'm trying to convince sellers to list with me. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we do, I'd like to just share some cool stuff. First, this week I did a Voxer, and I want to share. Voxer are the audios I do every day. For those of you who are not in our Voxer groups, you can email Jen. You know that. If you attended my webinars, you can email Jen at realestatemaverick.com, and you can get in one of our Voxer groups. We have those for agents in our coaching, and then we have some that you don't even have to be in the coaching that you can be in, and you're welcome to do that. So one of the things I covered was what I call the rule of 90, and I got a huge response back, very positive response that really helped a lot of the agents who were coaching kind of understand something. So I'm going to share that this morning. The rule of 90 essentially says that when you're doing advertising, when you're doing marketing, it is you need to wait 90 days before you can expect a result. I'm going to talk to you about that, about the why though. I mean, that's the rule of 90. And so the why, though, it's really important to understand the why. The why is this, that there's two things going on here. One is what I call memorability. Memorability is when you're running an ad, and I recommend that you impact the same group of people, the same target audience, twice a month for 3 months. Those of you in my coaching know that. I teach it, I preach it, I talk about it all the time. I say, do not expect a result until after 90 days. Now, the good news is most all of you get a result after sometimes a matter of a week or two, or sometimes a matter of a few days. It happened to numerous agents this week, but I don't want you to expect that. And here are the things that are going on with the rule of 90, particularly in real estate. First of all, you're not selling chocolate cake. You know, like everybody loves chocolate cake. So if you take 1,000 people and you market chocolate cake, you like say, I bake the best chocolate cake in the entire world. There's never been a better chocolate cake. And you show this amazing visual of it. And I'm selling it for like 10 cents a piece. I mean, and you hit 1,000 people with that in a given day, you're probably going to get a big response because a lot of people, including me, love chocolate cake. I don't know if you guys know, but when I was 12 years old, I weighed 220 pounds. I mean, little skinny me at 12 weighed 220 pounds. So the idea, and I love chocolate cake and donuts. So the bottom line is when you're marketing something that has an appeal to almost anyone on any given day, that's a different thing. The rule of 90 doesn't apply. But in real estate, the rule of 90 applies because in any 1,000 homeowners that you would impact, if you're marketing to them to try to convince them to list with you, you have to think that in a 6% average annual turn rate, that means that 60 homes will be listed and sold in that 1,000 homes every year. That's 5 homes a month. So any given month, think about it, that's 5 homes a month. That's only 1 to 1.5 homes a week. So any given day that you impact that person with your message, why they should list with you, and you do it with an EDDM postcard, you do it with a door hanger, you do it with a newspaper ad, however you do it, the odds are on that given Wednesday of that given week, you're probably not going to hit anybody who is thinking about selling, because only 1 to 2 people that entire week on a given day will make their minds up, we're going to sell. And so it's not like chocolate cake where you're hitting 1,000 people, of which 997 are being tempted by chocolate cake. You're hitting maybe 1, probably none any given day. So that means the idea that you put out 1,000 messages to 1,000 homeowners as to why they would list with you, that means that any given day you cannot, it's not reasonable to expect a response. Now, what you have to do is you have to make the ad. So instead of having it be expecting, like I run an ad, I deliver a door hanger, I expect a response. The idea is you need to build memorability and build credibility. So here's what happens. Over a period of 90 days, if you impact this same group of people, this same 1,000 homeowners, twice a month, that's what I've shown. That's what I've seen over years of doing this. Too much, 3 or 4 times, once a week, not enough, once a month or once every 2 months. I mean, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, have determined that twice a month is the best ROI, the best return on investment. Obviously, if you do it every week, you might get a little more, but the return on investment is not significant. So you impact 1,000 people, and of course it's going to be 2, 5, 10,000, but let's just use 1,000. You impact 1,000 people and you do it twice a month. Here's what happens. Number one, memorability. If your ad is a memorable ad, if you're running the same message time after time, and it's one that is what we call sticky, it's memorable. You know, and we use the 990 message, or we use the 29-day, the fast sale message, the, sticky messages that people will remember. Then after you've hit them 6 times over 3 months, they're going to start remembering it. So the day they decide to sell, you don't have to have the ad in front of them. They're going to remember that. They're going to go try to find it. They're going to Google you. They're going to look you up. Maybe they even saved it and threw it somewhere. The point is, you get memorability for that day that your ad's not in front of them, but they decide to sell. Does that make sense? Then the other thing is you build credibility. Have you ever noticed that when you see an ad, time after time after time, even though you've never spoken with anyone who's ever used the product, if you see a commercial on television, you see an ad in the newspaper, and you see it over and over and over again, it builds credibility. You tend to believe that the product or the service is likely good, it's serving people well, or they couldn't afford to keep doing it. So what you're doing when you do this, what I call the rule of 90 in real estate, is you're setting yourself up in the 4th month. When 5 people in that 4th month decide to sell, probably most all of them are going to remember your ad because they've seen it 6 times, remember whatever it is you got in front of them, and it's going to have some credibility, and so it's going to make them likely to give you a call. And what we've shown, by the way, statistically, is if your ad is good enough and it impacts people 6 times, you will at a minimum get 20% of those people to call you, which means in real estate, in 1,000 homes, you'll get 1 out of 5. In that next month, you'll get 1 call and you should get 1 listing. That's the bottom line, presuming your ad is sticky and presuming your ad is sticky, which means memorable, and then it builds credibility. So that's the rule of 90. Wanted to share that today. The second thing I want to share is an article that was sent over to me by one of our agents, and it had to do with buyer letters. Should you, as a buyer, this is just extra stuff I'm sharing today as part of this webinar. Should you, as a buyer agent, encourage your buyers to write a letter to accompany the offer to help the sellers, to help persuade the sellers to go ahead and accept their offer? And this would be true whether it's a multiple offer situation or not. And this article that appeared in Inman, and it was a year and a half old, but it essentially said, no, this is a terrible thing to do, that it's none of the seller's business as to who the buyers are, any of this kind of thing. It's purely a matter of price and terms. And also it said that you're really walking on dangerous ground if you do, because this could be a violation of the Fair Housing Act if the sellers happen to choose you because of this letter, and it turns out that that one of their considerations had to do with a protected class, had to do with consideration with respect to race or religion or national origin, etc. The bottom line is that is garbage. I believe that it is crazy in most situations not to accompany an offer with a buyer letter. I'm an attorney, and I can tell you that a buyer submitting a letter with their offer as to why they love the home, a little bit about their background, being humanized. My partner and friend Harvey McKay calls it humanizing your selling strategy. That these are real people, that they really care, that they complement the home, and that they want the sellers to know that they are good quality buyers, that they'll do everything they can to close on time, etc. And a little about their background, just wanted to share it with you, and basically characterizing it in a way that, hey, guess what? if I've lived in a home 5 or 10 years and I brought my kids up in a home, I'd kind of like to know who's going to be the next custodian of this place that I have so many memories in. And to actually position the letter that way is, I just thought you might be interested to know what we're like, who we are, how much we love your home, how much we appreciate how well you've taken care of it, and how much we hope that we can put a deal together. And the bottom line is, I think that is a super powerful thing to do. I know that when my nephew Jason, and that's his photo back there from a few years ago, when Roseanne, my wife, sold him a house maybe, what, 6-7 months, was it, what, Roseanne, 6-7 months ago? Yeah, 6-7 months ago, in this, last year, that he ended up doing this in a genuine way. It was in a very genuine letter. Everything he said in there, he absolutely meant, and with some photos, et cetera. And the bottom line is, the people accepted his offer in a very competitive situation. And they were some lovely, lovely older couple. And the bottom line is, then because of that letter, they ended up, after the deal was put together and just before closing, they ended up inviting Jason over and gave him thousands of dollars worth of furniture, all because of the letter, because they felt so good about who he was. So don't tell me buyer letters don't work. And with respect to this idea that it's going to put you as an agent who conveys it, or the buyers or the sellers, in a position of violating fair housing, that's just garbage. I mean, it is illegal to make a choice of someone buying your house based on a prohibited class. But buyer letters have nothing to do with that. I mean, if you just want to be safe with a buyer letter, don't indicate in there any of the protected classes. So I'm not going to belabor that. I just wanted to point out that I think it's a great strategy. I've used it with the buyer agents I've trained for years. Roseanne has used it, and it's worked extremely well. So, I'm sorry? Oh, and Roseanne was just sharing with me right over here that her sister sold her home in a competitive situation to a couple based on their buyer letter, because it was so engaging and it was so well written and it warmed her up to them, that she chose them over the other buyers for that reason. So if I'm a buyer agent, I'm using a buyer letter. That's my second tip for today. And so what we're going to do is pop over here. I'm going to share some fun stuff with you, and then we will start the actual counterintuitive statements. This is something I'm going to share with you because I believe it's something you should be doing. I come up with these sayings, and then Adrian, the amazing Adrian with our Real Estate Mavericks team, and Adrian takes and finds images on iStock. We use Getty Images on iStock, and I have a subscription that I think it's $300 a month, and we get 100 images, and these are the higher level Getty images. Big Stock is another source of images. It's a lot less expensive. I think for like 50 or 60 bucks a month, you get 5 a day. But if you don't use the 5 a day, you lose them. With this iStock, any you don't use in a month, you roll over to the next month. So that's a good thing. And there is a lower level subscription. I think the one I was previously on was like $150 and got me like 30 or 40 images a month, but they are really good images. In any case, in your marketing, the idea of using phrases and terms that engage people with engaging photos can be extremely powerful. And that's why I just want to give you an illustration of what I do. And I run these on Real Estate Mavericks. Sometimes we run them on our 990 promotions. I'll show you some of those, but I'm just going to run through a few real quick to give you a flavor for that, because it's not hard to do. And it is very, very sticky on social media. So robbing Peter to pay Paul always sounds pretty good to Paul. That's one with that image, and got a lot of activity on that. A problem solved early is a problem solved cheap, and you can see the image with that. And again, this is just to illustrate to you something that you can and should do. And those in my coaching, by the way, you know that you can get a packet of 16 of these from Adrian. Just email Adrienne, ADRIENNE, at realestatemaverics.com. And she has a package of 16 images she's put together, primarily based on our 990 strategy, that you can use and you can brand to your 990 URL if you're in my coaching. So here's another one. He who speaks too much, speaks too much, says too little. This is a 990 one, Jump for Joy, 990 sells homes. Another one, we make 6% agents want to hide, 990sells.com. Here's one, this one got huge activity. Brief and brilliant beats big and bloated. And that one got a lot of activity. A class act can say a lot without uttering a word. Isn't that true? A class act can say a lot without uttering a word. So true. You know who the class acts are in your life. When you fight a pig, you both get muddy, but he doesn't care. That one, I Twittered that, and that got a large number of shares, etc. on Twitter. So this is just a flavor. When others try harder, I try different. And that's true, I do. And when I come to a fork in the road, I explore both. I believe in checking out everything. And don't look back, you're not going that way. Boy, if that isn't one of the more powerful things to live by. You know, regret is the past crippling the future. Regret is the past crippling the future. Don't look back, you're not going that way. So that's the third thing I wanted to share today. So before we get actually started with the official webinar, this is something you could do that really moves needles, really works well on social media, and images with a little bit of text and a sticky statement really draw people's attention to you. And don't feel like everything you do has to be an advertisement for you. You just want to draw attention to yourself. Have people like you. Have people say, wow, that guy's cool, that gal's cool, that's fun, that's this, that's everything you do doesn't have to be all about, here's 12 reasons why you should list or buy through me. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, one of the most powerful things that I do, and this is in the luxury home arena, I do 2 types of marketing. And this is, besides my training and coaching in the programs, I actually do this stuff every day. And that's why I feel like what I teach, I really feel good about, because I know for a fact it works, because it's working for me and the agents who work with me. It just brings in a ton of business. And in my view, every agent's single biggest problem is they spend so much time looking for business and not enough time doing business. And the lead generation websites and various protocols out there, quite frankly, I think stink. I've never found one that is, I mean, you can spend some money, you can get some leads, but if you build your own brand and you have your own messaging, nothing compares to that. And using these lead generation websites, I mean, 90% of the stuff that comes into those are just junk. So you're burning so much time using those, just following up with junk stuff. People have no interest right now. And if you're just looking for people who may have an interest in the future, you've got them all around you, because their argument in using all these sites is, well, just put these people in and cultivate and nurture them. Well, yeah, I agree. Put them in a drip email campaign and nurture them, but you can go out and get those people all day long. I mean, the idea of paying good money is to get good leads right now. And I'll tell you that having your own lead generation strategy, in my opinion, is way superior to just trying to buy it off of websites. And they make a huge profit on that business, by the way. So not against them. If you have no other alternative, but you can do it yourself. So fourth thing I want to share before we get started with the webinar is something I do, and it's what I call, a lot of people do it. I don't know if a lot of people in real estate do it, and that is these articles that are really ads in a context. And these are ones, now I do 2 things. I have the 990 strategy, and that's something that I use and with my real estate firm, and I teach it as well. And I think Adrian, who's on the webinar, I don't know, Adrian, what do we have in the last 2 days? Several call-in listings on that. We even had some that are out of state here that just happened to see the website in Michigan and other places. I mean, it's just that's for homes that are, let's say, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 and under, where there's a lot more demand and supply. We'll take those listings like crazy, generate buyers, make money. But the bottom line, then I do the luxury home thing. That's a whole different thing. Let's say above $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. And the best way to, in my view, get luxury home sellers interested in listing with the agents who I teach in luxury home. And I'm coaching my son, Casey, who, hi, Casey, you're on the webinar today. I'm helping Casey get a foothold in the luxury home area. And I think Casey would tell you that he's doing really well with that. In fact, we have 2 offers that we'll be presenting this afternoon on another one of his listings. And I think this listing's probably, 45, 60 days old. We have this 75-day plan that we market. Well, the bottom line is it's articles that are generating the business, not just straight ads, but they're articles. Like this is the one that I ran in the Paradise Valley Independent that just comes out today. This will come out this afternoon in the Paradise Valley Independent. That's about 5,000 upper scale homes here in Arizona. I run a page 3 article every week, and this is 3 things you must know when selling your home. Better circumstances sell homes better. Any of you that would like a copy of this article so that you can read it and you can position yourself and use the same kind of content, you need to write it yourself. This is copyrighted, but I don't care if you use what I've got in here and just rewrite it in your own words. Just email jen@realestatemaverick.com, and I will assure you this will generate business. And you can see then down at the bottom, want to sell your PV home at maximum price in 75 days. I'm teaching my son Casey how to sell PV homes. We have a more intelligent approach. Talk with me and Casey before you list. But this article is about how to create better circumstances, how to get a buyer in a better frame of mind. The week before, it was take down those awful signs. Selling your PV home, do yourself a favor, do your neighbors a favor, take down the sign. And I talk about how signs all through Paradise Valley, several hundred signs of homes for sale, they are hurting home values. And you can see I'm constantly positioning myself against tradition. You guys know how I talk about taking positions against tradition, looking at things that you don't think are being done the way they should and taking positions against them. That's how you get attention. And they need to be genuine. You need to believe in them. And I do believe in this. I would never put a sign on a high-end property as part of my 75-day private marketing. That is just the antithesis of the way to do it right and the way to get buyers in a higher price frame of mind, the way to make buyers feel like they're seeing something special that other people haven't seen. So I talked about that here and how they ought to take down the signs. So that got, I think, 2 or 3 emails from sellers who said, we'd like to talk to you and your son, Casey. Since I'm always positioning it with Casey, they're always now saying, and I've just introduced Casey into my marketing maybe about a month and a half ago, but now all the emails I get are saying, and Casey, you got to be loving this, all the emails I get are saying, which is true because I am teaching him. This is absolutely true. I'm going to spend 1 year doing this with Casey, and then Casey, you are on your own, you need to do this on your own. The bottom line is the emails say, I'd like to talk to you and Casey. So I'm establishing Casey's brand in Paradise Valley, which Casey could be doing himself, but I'm teaching him. He doesn't know how yet, but he's learning. And then here's a third one, how to sell your home for 8% more, same thing. And here's one, why Paradise Valley homes sell for less than they should. And this is a flavor of what I'm doing in the luxury home area. Unlike the lower price range, we'll call it the mid to lower price range, commission is irrelevant. The commission there is, I charge is 5-6%. I mean, we don't even discuss commission. I mean, this is all about strategy. Why? Because in the upper end price range, there is more supply than demand. And I want to say that again, and then we'll get into the actual slide deck today. In the upper, and yeah, that's what I've got here. Okay, so I can go off the slide share for a minute. I can go off of there. Okay, so in the upper price range, there is more supply than demand. And so what you always want to do in marketing in real estate is think about what is the problem? What do people want? Where is the gap in the herd? What can you say that other agents aren't? In the upper price range, the problem isn't commission. There's really not a lot of downward pressure on commission for, let's say, $800,000-$900,000 homes and up. Sellers want a good deal, but what they really want most in that upper price range is to get their home sold for maximum price because they know it's hard. There are a lot of those homes sitting around in the upper price range. That's because of demographic shifts and a number of other things that I'm not going to get into in this webinar. But the bottom line is, so that's what I'm hitting there, is this 75-day private home marketing strategy I have, which, by the way, really does work. This is not smoke and mirrors. And I'm pointing out how it is crazy, position against tradition, how it is crazy to do what? It is crazy to list your home on a normal basis, your beautiful luxury home, to throw it on the market like a loaf of bread, like a grocer would throw a loaf of bread on the shelf of his store. That's what a lot of agents do, just toss it in MLS. They toss up a sign, and I call them lazy listers, because they depend on MLS and they depend on a sign to get it done. They're not working every day, 2 or 3 hours a day, making calls, sending text messages, putting out e-flyers, doing all the things that I believe should be done. And that's what we do during the 75 days. And you have absolutely nothing to lose because you're not tracking days in MLS, etc. And I'm not going to get into that. I've got a whole webinar on that luxury home strategy, which, by the way, you're welcome to. Just email jen@realestatemaverick.com. It's the whole thing laid right out there for you. But these articles, the point is, just as extra bonus material for today's webinar, these articles have been incredibly powerful at getting the message across, more powerful than typical ads would be. Okay? All right, so let's go into the slide deck today. I hope you guys don't mind me sharing some extra bonus stuff with you today. And so, probability increasers, that is our webinar for today. And it is 11 counterintuitive statements that increase your odds of success in real estate. So let's get right to it. The power of a counterintuitive statement. Well, counterintuitive statement, what would a counterintuitive statement be? For example, lawyers, the worst lawyers often know the most law. Okay, the worst lawyers often know the most law. That's counterintuitive, obviously. So, and by the way, that's often true. That statement is dead true. The worst lawyers often know the most law. The lawyers who are best, through my practice and what I see, it's not bad to know a lot of law. And I said often in there. But the bottom line is that lawyers who just focus on knowing the law, but don't really understand well how to identify issues and don't understand strategy, don't understand negotiation, they may know the law well, but you can go look up the law. Anybody can go on the internet and find the law. You can go into Westlaw and all the legal sources and find the law. The real key to being a good lawyer is not focusing every day on memorizing the law. You can look that up, as I said. It's focusing on strategy. It's focusing on identifying key issues. What are you seeing that other people aren't? And trying to resolve those issues. A lot of lawyers who know law don't really understand how to identify the really important issues and to win on those issues, because you win on those issues, you win the case. They actually sometimes miss the most important issues and end up losing the case, although they know the law. So that's a counterintuitive statement, and by the way, it's a true one. So counterintuitive statements, they may seem illogical, they evoke curiosity, or they do both. They're used by some of the best authors, by the way, in the best books. I'm going to give you a few fun examples before we rock through the 11 that I put together that can help you in real estate. One of my favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell, and the book David and Goliath is one of my favorite books. Underdogs, Misfits, and The Art of Battling Giants. I mean, just like the totally amazing book. So one of the things that Gladwell points out in the book is David defeating Goliath. This is how he starts the book. That David defeating Goliath was not an improbable victory. And you know how that is always like, gosh, David beat Goliath. That is unbelievable. Any person, no matter what an underdog you are, you can prevail, you know, if you're willing to work hard enough, etc. And the David and Goliath story is used as an example. Well, actually, it's not really a good example, because anyone who knew the facts would have known that David was very likely to beat Goliath. In fact, if you were going to bet and you knew the facts and you were right there, you would have bet 10 to 1 that David would have beat Goliath. Why? And this is the counterintuitive statement, though, based on common perception. David defeating Goliath was not improbable, okay? So the reason is because Goliath, number one, if you've read the book, you know he had like 100 pounds of armor on him. So he was weighted down hugely, moving very slowly. And number two, it's believed that he had eyesight problems because he had a tumor in his eye, so he could not even see well. Where by contrast, David was amazing with the slingshot. At 200 yards, David with a slingshot could just like hit a bird and I mean just explode it. So the idea that David could stay away from Goliath and with his slingshot bring Goliath down, if you knew the players and knew the situation, you would find that you wouldn't even think that Goliath could ever beat David, and in fact he did not, and that was the reason why. So that's a counterintuitive statement, and that is based on real fact. Another one, and this is from Gladwell, smaller class sizes don't necessarily create an environment that's more conducive to learning. So I don't know if you know, but
Great.
Yes.
I don't see the recording light.
You don't see the recording light? Okay, let me just check and make sure we're recording here. Okay, guys, hold on 1 second. I'm going to stop the share and check the recording. Nope, we're recording. Okay, I've got stop recording here, Jen, so we're good. So.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Okay, that's okay. No, thank you. I appreciate that. So we're back to the deck here. So hold on, guys. Back to the deck. Okay, so smaller class sizes don't necessarily create an environment that's more conducive to learning. Counterintuitive statement, because most people presume that smaller class sizes are better. In fact, they presume it. They presume it so much that in California, I don't know if you know, several years ago, when the governor of California made this big thing about lowering class sizes in California, his popularity, now get this, his popularity doubled when they took the polls in 3 weeks, just because he said, I'm going to make this, my mission is to get the class sizes in California smaller. Actually, it turns out that if you go below 18 to 24 students, smaller class sizes hurt a student's ability to learn because they don't have this ability to interact with other students. There's not the vibe that goes on. There's not all the different ideas that come out. And so there's a point, there's just a midpoint. 18 to 24 is an optimal class size. So that's a counterintuitive statement, one that's true and very powerful. And you can see what it does. It gets you interested. And that's why it's so important. You're going to see in this, what I'm going to teach you in some of these real estate ones, how you can use these effectively to get buyers and sellers to think in ways they otherwise wouldn't. Another one, I think this is the last one I've got on Gladwell. There's a point at which money and resources, actually I've got two more here. There's a point at which money and resources stop making our lives better and start to make them worse. And actually, Gladwell points out why, and I can even give you an example in my life. Many years ago, when I was having a lot of success selling real estate, and I had money coming in beyond anything I had ever in my very young life believed I ever would, I got so caught up in buying stuff and got consumed. My mission every day was, how could I have the best of everything that was out there? The bottom line was, I wasn't that happy. And it was only having coffee with my good friend Bruce Redding, who's one of my just best friends, one of the nicest guys, one of the smartest guys I know. And he said that to me. He said, Greg, I've known you for so many years and you've had more success than you probably ever could have imagined, but you don't seem that happy. And I pointed out to him that it's weird, I don't. I mean, having money's great. But the bottom line was, I was getting consumed with this idea that money was everything, and I had lost purpose. And he just pointed out to me what I've talked many times about, and that is the definition of happiness, which, at least the one that resonates with me, that happiness is that deep sense. It doesn't come from material things. Having material things is great. Being comfortable is great. Having enough money to pay bills is great. There's no doubt about that. But beyond a certain point, it was not making me happy. And so his definition of happiness is that deep sense of satisfaction that comes from the enthusiastic pursuit of a worthwhile goal of your own choosing. And this idea that pleasures make one happy, going to movies, going to nice dinners, buying stuff, buying clothes, that's cool. Pleasures are great. But purpose to me is happiness. And that's what I believe can sometimes happen with money, that you get an amount of money that is beyond what you need, and you get focused on the money and not on the purpose. And when you lose the purpose, I think you lose the happiness. And boy, what a difference that's made in my life, because I just turned myself around and got to the point that I offloaded all the stuff. I mean, all the cars and motorcycles and planes and crap that I had, and just got back into purpose. And boy, my life's been so much better because of it. And then one more, there are such things as desirable difficulties. Gladwell talks about that. He uses the example. So that's, again, another counterintuitive statement. Gladwell uses the example of dyslexia. And he points out that while only 5 to 10%, and that's a learning disorder that and I'm not probably going to explain this well because I don't know it well, but dyslexia is a learning disorder that occurs to a lot of people, 5 to 10% of the population. And it has to do with not reading well and relating the symbols to, processing the symbols as well as you should, and also some type of a processing problem with respect to verbal speech. And again, I'm sorry, I don't know how to explain that well, but I do know that he points out that dyslexia, that successful entrepreneurs, 1/3 of successful entrepreneurs, a study in London showed, have pretty serious dyslexia, and yet only 5 to 10% of the population have it. And the idea is it's a desirable difficulty, that the fact that you have this actually gets people more intent on working harder, studying harder, spending more time to try to be successful, and it turns out to be a desirable difficulty. I can tell you that from my perspective, when I was a kid, and I've thought back on this often, I was overweight. And as I pointed out, I weighed 220 pounds. And then if that wasn't bad enough, that was when I was a kid. And then as I got to be a teenager, I had very bad acne, very bad pimples. And so I even did a video about my girl problems when I was a kid, having a hard time. Here I go from fat to pimply. And, girls are generally not attracted to fat or pimply when you're a kid. So I talk about that in the video. Well, the bottom line is I really think as being a fat kid and being pimply helped me have a better personality. Now, I could be right, I could be wrong, but I really believe that because I worked so hard back then. I wanted to be popular so desperately, and I could not be popular on my looks. That wasn't going to cut it. And we had a fraternity, I'll go ahead and just say it, I went to college at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. We had a fraternity there, Sigma Chi's. Now, Sigma Chi's were known as, they were the blonde-haired, if you weren't blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, great looking, you were not going to be a Sigma Chi. It was just that simple. And so I got to tell you, I got to know a lot of the Sigma Chi's. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being great looking, but I will tell you, at least from the Sigma Chi's perspective, they were boring. They were just flat out boring. So I did a little video about how to get the girls. In college, I became a drummer in the band. And while I didn't get all the girls, I got the crazy girls. And that was like, okay with me. The bottom line is, it turns out I believe in my life that the fact that I had pimples and was very overweight turned out to help me be a better person later on. Just like dyslexia helps people maybe be better entrepreneurs because they have to work harder. Okay, well, I hope I didn't burn too much time on all that extra content, just good stuff I thought I'd want to share. So here we go, 11 counterintuitive statements to help you succeed in real estate. And first, what I'm going to do with each of these is set up the situation. Then I'm going to give you the counterintuitive statement. Then I'm going to tell you, how to use it and how to explain it. So I'm going to give you 11 situations, 11 counterintuitive statements, and then 11, like how to use it. Okay. So first situation, convincing sellers to accept the offers they should. Okay. So the counterintuitive statement to a seller is you're no longer a seller, you're a buyer. So you're sitting with sellers, they're evaluating an offer, they ought to accept it, but they're reluctant to, they want to get a little more, they want to counter, but they shouldn't counter, they should accept it. So you make the statement to them, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, today you're no longer sellers, you're actually buyers. That's the counterintuitive statement. It gets their attention. It's illogical. So then they'll say, what do you mean? And then you point out, well, this is a great buyer. We've had our home on the market for 80 days and we've not seen an offer this good. It's a great buyer. The comps justify it. And here's the thing. If you reach down and sign this, your home is sold, which means if you don't, you're effectively buying your home back. You're buying your home back for this amount of money. Now let's say this home is listed at $389,000 and this is a $70,000 offer, $370,000 offer, right in the midpoint of where it should be. Well, the bottom line is you say to the sellers, let me ask you a question. As I point out, you can sign this and your house is gone. These are buyers, they're qualified, they're going to close on this house, 95% chance it's going to be fine, 99%. So if you don't, you've actually bought it back at $370,000. What you need to do is remove the emotion. Remember that you're a buyer, not a seller. And think about it this way. If you get rid of the emotion, you simply have to say to yourself, I'm an investor. I have $370,000. Of all the things I could buy for $370,000 to try to make a few $1,000s, of all the homes that are for sale, of all the investment properties, of all the stocks, of all the things out there, knowing that this home's been on the market for 80 days that it hasn't sold, that it hasn't seen an offer better than this? Is this where I put my $370,000? Is this if I were just an objective investor, is this what I do? You'd never do that. Nobody would do that. They would never consider. I mean, what happens, because time on the market is acid to the price of a home, and the longer it's on the market, the more buyers perceive it's overpriced or that something will be wrong. All that's going to happen is we're going to drag on with more time, and you actually stand a better probability of getting less than getting more. As a buyer, you would never buy this home for $370,000, so don't make the mistake as a seller of turning down this offer. So that's using a counterintuitive statement to segue into what I consider the best close to get sellers to take offers that they should take. Okay. Second one, situation, competing for listings against big name agents with lots of signs. There are always these big name agents out there. Some of you are probably on the webinar here today. If that's so, that's great, but most of you probably aren't the #1 agent in your area. And so how do you compete against these agents that have signs all over? Well, the counterintuitive statement is agents with more listings often sell homes for less. So agents with more listings often sell homes at lower prices. And so then the person says, really, why? Counterintuitive statement seems illogical. You would think that the agents who have more signs are the agents who are more successful, and the reason they're more successful is because they sell homes faster and sell them at higher prices, and that's why people list with them. So it's a counterintuitive statement. It defies logic. So then you explain, you say, well, here's the thing. First of all, agents with more listings, there are a lot of agents who collect listings. Their kind of business model is to spend their time listing homes and then depending on other agents to sell them. And you guys know this is true. There are agents in every market that do this. They wake up every morning and their main focus is just listing, 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 listing. And by the way, I did that, so I get that. But that doesn't mean I can't teach you how to beat that, okay? So and I'm not saying we didn't do a good job for our sellers. The good news, we did, because I had 11 people on my team when we did this who I trained remarkably. So the second I listed a property, they were like all over it with the processes I taught them. But the bottom line is I don't think a lot of agents have that. They just list, and depend on MLS and signs to get homes sold. So you point out, wouldn't you rather have an agent who wakes up every morning thinking about selling your home, spending 2 or 3 hours a day, the way you're doing, Casey, with a list of properties you list, 2 or 3 hours at least every day, working on each of those properties, generating interest, excitement, getting memorability, getting people excited, doing showings, holding open houses. Bottom line is you're working every day, Casey, to sell those homes. And that's, I mean, the truth is, and I'll say this to you, Casey, Roseanne and I were just talking the other night, and I won't mention names, but there are a lot of agents who have obviously a lot more listings than you. You're only 2-3 months in the business. Hands down, we would list with you over agents that have 20, 30, 40, 50 signs around, and you know who we're talking about. We would list with you every day of the week, not because you're our son, but because we know the work you're putting in to try to generate buyers and get those homes sold. And that's the point here with this counterintuitive statement. Another thing you can do, try it. Go into MLS, I have, and look at homes that are listed by the agents who have lots of listings and take the original list price, not the price they reduce it to, but take the original list price and compare it to the end sale price on those that have sold. You do this, you want to compete against these agents. So original list price compared to the price when it sells for those that do sell, #1, and then take some listings of agents who don't have as many listings and do the same thing. And you will find, I've found it time and time again, that the agents, and do it with your own listings, the agents who have fewer listings most of the time, not all the time, actually have a higher ratio, a higher percentage of sale price to original list price, Okay, so that's a way to beat agents who have more listings and big names in your community. Situation, deciding on an advertising plan to generate listings. So this is really yourself now, a counterintuitive statement to help yourself decide on how to spend your money on advertising. And again, this is all about counterintuitive statements to help you be successful in real estate. So this is one for you. Here it is. On a given budget, and by the way, even the government has a budget, we think, the fewer you impact, the fewer people you impact, the better your result. So the idea there is, again, that would seem counterintuitive. What do you mean? The fewer people I impact, the better the result. I would think the more people that I get my message in front of, the better the result. And that actually isn't true on a given budget. So if you have a budget of $1,000 that you can spend over 3 months, do you spend that one time to hit the most people you can, thinking, I'm going to spend this $1,000 and I'm going to hit like 21,000 people, circulation of this newspaper, 21,000 people with my amazing message, and because I'm hitting 21,000 people, I have a good chance of having someone who's thinking about selling or thinking about buying give me a call. So, and you might spend that 1,000, run one ad, and you might get a call or two. But I can tell you for a fact, and I mentioned this before, that if you spend that $1,000 and you hit, let's see, 1/10 of that people. So what do I say, like 15,000 people or 20,000 people? If you hit 2,000 people, 1/10 of them, but you hit them 10 times in a row, 2 weeks apart, you will get more business than by hitting 10 times that number of people one time. Does that make sense? It's just ROI. It's not like if you spend $1,000 and hit 20,000 people, you may not get a response, but you will every single time get a better response if you hit 1/10 the number of people, that would be 2,000 people, and do it 10 times. So on a given budget, you're going to do better impacting fewer people more times, okay? Next situation, convincing sellers to list on your 990 commission plan. Now you can apply this to whatever you're doing, but you know, my theory, and I've talked about this multiple times, I believe that so many agents are, whether they're within our coaching and doing our 990 or not, I believe that the world of real estate, that agents are missing one of the biggest opportunities that has ever existed in this profession. And that is this, and then I'll do the counterintuitive statement. Bottom line is, in every other business that I've been able to think of, people pay for inventory. And in real estate, we have been spoiled, and me too, I've made millions, but we've been spoiled by believing we have to get paid on the list side in order to make money listing property. And that is not true. Many, many years ago, I used to think that too, but it's not true. The bottom line is that whether you're in whatever business, any other business, whether it's car dealer or Nordstrom's clothing or jewelry shops, they pay to have inventory. The inventory attracts buyers. Those businesses, those real estate agents with more inventory attract more buyers. And I believe the big gap in the herd, the big missing opportunity, and that's why I built this whole 990 model around this, giving agents in our coaching their own websites, their own URLs, all their own videos, everything, like a business in a box, but you can do it on your own, just pick a different number, is that if you went out and listed listings for free, forget 990. Let's say you went out and you, in your market, started advertising, I'll list your home, I'll do everything complete, full service, I'll kill myself for you, and I'll do it for free. Imagine how, I mean, if you can't list listings with that, you ought to get out of the business. Bottom line is, you'd smoke all the traditional agents. You just smoke them, and you say to us, oh, by the way, if you're not happy with me at any given time, you can cancel. I mean, you just make it so they cannot say no. So you went out and do that. You have any idea how much money you'd make? You would list houses like crazy. You'd be working your buns off. Instead of sitting looking for business, you would have business. You would start getting buyer calls. And again, this is in the lower price range. This is where there is more buyer demand than there are listings, okay? So this is, you always want to do this kind of a strategy, not in the luxury home area, but in the lower price ranges where there's limited supply and lots of buyers. So what happens? First of all, with a theory like that, doing that, it's not a theory, doing that, 1 out of 2 or 3 sellers are going to buy through you. If you took, say, just $300,000 listings, if all you did was take $300,000, let's just say you're $300,000, that's your price range, that average. The bottom line is, for every 3 listings you take for free, minimum one of those sellers statistically is going to buy a home through you, probably a little more. That means you earn, if they buy a $300,000 home and you're a 3% co-broke area, that's $9,000. That means what? That means you're going to be earning an average of $3,000 on each of those listings you took for free just by the sellers buying from you, because you earn $9,000 for every 3. That's an average of $3,000 for each one. And then let's assume you sell 1 out of 9 yourself, because you're going to get all these buyer calls. You're going to do pre-marketing. Let's say 8 out of 9 sell co-broke and you don't make anything that way, but you sell only 1 out of 9 yourself. That's 9 for every 9 listings. That's what? $9,000. So that's an average of $1,000 per listing. So instead of making what? $3,000 by just sellers, you make $4,000 because you have 1 out of 3 sellers buy from you, 1 out of 9 you sell yourself. That's what? $4,000 average a listing. And then let's say that Gary Keller, Gary Keller built an amazing company, Keller Williams, 140,000 agents, wrote great books on real estate. Even Gary Keller says that the average real estate agent with a listing marketed correctly should generate from 1 to 3 buyer side sales for each listing, 1 at a minimum. But let's say you only do a half. For each 2 listings you take, all the buyers they generate, you only sell 1 other home. These buyers don't like your listing, so you sell a home and you sell co-broke. So that's what, for every 2 listings, 300,000, 3%, you make $9,000. So that's another 4,500. 3,000 plus 1,000 plus 4,500. That's 4,000 plus 4,500 is $8,500. I mean, I just want you to see that if you took nothing on the list side, and there's many reasons why 990 is better than nothing, but it isn't because of the money, by the way. It's just a better plan for many reasons, because it has credibility, it makes sense, etc. But the bottom line is, an average listing just on that basis, if you only generated a buyer on every other one, would be worth $8,500. So why would you not go out and do that? That is the big missing gap in the herd. And that's why we built in our coaching an entire business model around it, where we hand agents a copyrighted trademark system, etc. And so that's where we use this. That's my little pitch on not to join the coaching. Join our coaching or not. Not to join 990. Join it or not. That's up to you. You know, for what we charge, if the people, I believe the people who are in our system think it is like the best bargain ever in real estate to give them this business ready to go. This isn't about that. This is about convincing you, as I tried to do also in the last webinar, that you need to see this opportunity, because as list commissions come down, they are and they will, you're going to lose the opportunity. In 2 or 3 years, when list commissions are down, the average list side commission is like 1%. There isn't going to be this big opportunity to go out there and smoke everybody because you can get so far below them. Do you see that? So that's my little pitch on something that I believe all of you who are following me and listening to me ought to be thinking about in your market, whether you do it with me or not, whether I make a dime from you or not. Bottom line is, I'm here to help you, and I think you can see that. And this is a big opportunity you are missing. I will assure you, you will look back in 2 or 3 years and you will say, wow. But it's going to be too late then, because other agents are going to have established that positioning either with our brand or with their own. So with that, convincing sellers to list on your 990 commission plan. Counterintuitive statement. Paying agents too much makes them work too little. I want you to listen to how cool this is. That's so counterintuitive. You would think you pay people more, they're going to work harder and do a better job for you. But actually, we call it in our 990 training, and if you want to check that out, go to our consumer website, 990 Sells. That's 990sells.com. Or you can go read at 990agent.com more about the agent opportunity and what we do there. But the idea here is, one of the things we teach for, and we say it right on the website, is paying agents too much. Why? You do not want to list with a 5 or 6% agent. Sorry, you guys, those of you that are out there, but I teach the agents in my coaching how to beat you. I mean, that's just what I do. It's what I'm supposed to do. But so paying agents too much makes them work too little. And I have seen this be true. This is absolutely true. What I call them lazy listers who do what? Who rely on hope marketing. I talked about that before. So you list with somebody and you pay them 2 or 3% on the list side. On a $300,000 or $400,000 house, that's $10,000, $12,000. So this is a motivation. This is a motivation for that person to be a lister, to go out and list and list and list, what we call lazy listers, and to focus on building a business of listing homes, not working their buns off like Casey is doing, selling homes. So the bottom line is what we say there. I mean, boy, does that resonate with sellers. So we say with our 990 plan, we only earn $990 on the list side. That's just enough to cover our cost of marketing your home with maybe a few $100 profit. That's not where our path to prosperity is. Our path to prosperity is working to get your home sold. We don't always do it. We're not always the one that represents the buyer, but we sure try. And that's how, and then because we earn the 3, so we want to earn the 3%. We can't be lazy listers who rely on hope marketing. And so we use this counterintuitive statement in order to go in and not only attract sellers to us because we save them so much money, but attract sellers to us because they see that the system, the 990 system, or the one you would develop on your own that's modeled after the same kind of thing, you can use this. You could start tomorrow doing this, that actually motivates you to be the kind of listing agent that people want to work harder to sell their home. So you can see how powerful that is, that charging this very low list side commission is not just about helping people save money. It's also giving you, lighting a fire under you as a listing agent to try to generate a buyer and earn that 3%. And of course you say to sellers, I may or I may not. If I don't, I sure hope you'll refer people to me. I sure hope you'll buy a home through me. And of course the people feel like totally obligated to do that. So you generate more business, generate more referrals. If these people are buying a home anywhere in your area, they buy through you. And if not, if they're moving out of state, you can make a referral fee by sending them out. So that's that counterintuitive statement, how to use it. Okay, situation, convincing sellers that your pre-MLS marketing plan is better for them. So I believe strongly that everyone who lists a home should not just, as you know, if you followed me in my webinars, that you shouldn't just toss up a sign and toss it in MLS right away. That is like crazy bad. You know, no, I don't believe in pocket listings, trying to keep it to yourself, not telling anybody, just the opposite. But this whole idea of building anticipation, building excitement, giving buyers in your circles and agents who have buyers in your community the opportunity to position the home as not yet officially on the market, give buyers private showings, give the neighborhood a chance to look at it. I mean, it's just such a powerful way to kick a home off on the market. I call it our home launch formula. So convincing a seller that your pre-MLS marketing plan is better for them, counterintuitive statement. Putting a home on the market too fast can slow down the sale. Putting a home on the market too fast can slow down the sale. Doesn't make sense. Why? That seems illogical. You would seem like the faster you get it on the market, the faster you're going to sell it. But you point out what Apple does, what all the big companies do when they're launching products, and that just throwing products out on the market before you've gotten people excited, gotten people interested, is not the way to sell them the fastest, and clearly not the way to get premium prices. You want to get people excited, build anticipation, etc. So there's a counterintuitive statement you can use if you are a believer like I am in pre-marketing homes. Okay, situation. Convincing your sellers to price their home right. Convincing your sellers to price their home right. Now, how many of you have that problem? We all have that problem, right? So there's no magic dust, but try this. Counterintuitive statement. Higher list prices commonly result in lower sale prices. Higher list prices commonly result in lower sale prices. So you make that statement to a seller when you're trying to get them to price their home right. And they say, well, what do you mean? How do higher list prices commonly result in lower sale prices? And you point out what to you is the obvious, but to them might not be so obvious. And that is that people who list their homes at too high a price don't end up selling them right away. And what happens is time on the market accumulates. If a home particularly is an MLS, because if it's an MLS, and that's my big ding on MLS, I think MLS does such a disservice to sellers by tracking days on the market and letting buyers and buyer agents know how long a home's been on the market. The MLS, my dad was one of the founders of the MLS. For those of you who don't know, he started a company back in Cincinnati many years ago when I was a little kid, and it was called the Cincinnati Property Exchange. And it was one of 2 companies that the National Association of Realtors looked at and used as models to do what was known as the first like MLS model for boards, et cetera. So I'm proud of my dad's tradition in being one of the visionaries and the founders of the MLS. But it wasn't intended for that purpose. It wasn't intended to hurt home sellers like that. It was intended, actually, for those of you who don't know, to help small brokers. It wasn't even intended, quite frankly, to help sellers. It was intended, when it was founded, the initial intention was to help small brokers compete against large brokers, because back like 50 years ago, brokers did not co-broke. There was no sharing of listings. If you're a buyer, just like when you're looking for a new car in today's world, you go to various new car lots and you can only buy what they have. And if you don't like what they have, you go to another new car lot. Well, that was the way it was back many, many years ago when my dad got started in real estate. You would go to a real estate firm and look at their listings with an agent. If you didn't like those listings, you went to a different real estate firm. The agent with the one firm couldn't take you and show you listings with another firm. There was no co-op, no co-broking, etc. So the bottom line is you had to shop from firm to firm. Well, this was hugely detrimental to small firms. Like when my dad got started with his one office firm, it was hugely detrimental, because you have maybe 10 or 15 or 20 listings in your small brokerage, and the bottom line is that is not enough scale to attract a lot of buyers, so it makes it hard to sell them. It also makes it hard to do what? It makes it hard to get more listings, because the people who wanted to sell their home generally wanted to go with the larger firms that had more listings, because what? Just like I was saying earlier, more listings attract more buyers. That's the whole idea behind the 990 strategy. Having more listings attract more buyers, and the bigger firms have more listings. The other thing it was hurting little brokers is recruiting agents. Agents only had to sell what the broker had. So if you're with a small broker with 17 or 18 listings, that's all you had to sell. So what would happen is the small brokers like my dad would recruit agents, train those agents, because the big firms didn't even bother. Then once they were trained by the small brokers, the big brokers would hire them away. So the small brokers were really training grounds for the big brokers. So Dad came up with this idea that all the small brokers band together and agree to share listings, co-broke, etc. And he started this thing called the Cincinnati Property Exchange. He got like 52 or 53 small brokers in Cincinnati, and he would distribute like these booklets. This is all mimeograph paper back then, and we would distribute. I'd ride around with him on the weekends distributing these books and pulling out the ones that had sold and all this. I won't get into all the details, but the bottom line is it was like huge. It all of a sudden allowed this, and by the way, the commission back there then was 7. I mean, people talk about discounting. That is so funny. All the 5 and 6% stuff today, my dad would view as being total discounting. All you guys who are holding the line at 6%, in my dad's eyes, just to show you, you would be total low-life discounters. It's just all a matter of perception. In any case, so that helped all the small brokers have lots of homes to sell, sell more homes. Their agents that could then show, et cetera, co-broken, and eventually it turned into the MLS. Well, so back to the counterintuitive statement. Higher list prices commonly result in lower sale prices. So you talk about this days on the market and how MLS tracks that, and how the longer your home is on the market, if you price it too high, you'll end up taking less than you would. If you guys listen to me on this, you'll end up almost for sure taking less than you would if you priced it right in the beginning, because a buyer down the road, when we finally get the price right, the buyer down the road is going to see all these days on the market and going to presume that it's been overpriced, going to presume that there might be something wrong with it, and is going to offer less than they would if it was 12 days on the market or 6 days or 19 days on the market. So the idea is we can't be sure we're going to sell this home in the first 10 or 20 or 30 days. But what we've got to do is do our best to get that done. We've got to position this home with a price that is going to make people want to see it and make people want to make offers. And by the way, a little extra bonus. I have a video, and if you don't have this, I talked about it in a webinar, and I did a video, I did an audio on it. It's the combination of using in order to generate this kind of interest to market homes. And it's a great thing to point out to sellers on a listing appointment, how to generate interest in your pre-marketing. And then even after, if it doesn't sell, you put it in MLS, you use the combination of urgency positioning, motivation positioning, and contrast price positioning. Urgency positioning, motivation positioning, and contrast price positioning. People think, a lot of agents are under the illusion that the best way to advertise homes is by advertising the home. That is not true. And that's another counterintuitive statement, isn't it? The best way to advertise a home, to generate buyer interest, is saying what a pretty home it is. That is not true. The world is full of pretty homes. What people want are great buys. What people want are motivated sellers. Every buyer wants to feel like they're going to get a good buy. Buyers all the time will walk away from homes they like better in order to buy homes that are better buys. And I want to say that again. All the time, buyers will walk away from homes they like better to make better buys on homes they don't like as well. And you know this is true. They will not overpay for a home, even if they like it better. So in your marketing, and this is a great just additional bonus I'm throwing in here. When you're talking to sellers, you talk to them about how you use their story, their motivation, their urgency for selling, and contrast price positioning. And again, Jen can share the audios we have on how to do that in order to get other agents to want to show the home and buyers who are unrepresented to want to see the home, because everybody loves a good buy from a buyer's perspective. And other agents, you think other agents are all about pretty homes? They're not. They're about easy commissions. Well, you want to get agents to show your home, you need to point out to them how motivated your seller is, how urgent it is, how they want to sell this home. All true. You just characterize it and make it compelling. You obviously want to do it in a genuine and true way. You don't want to say something that's not true, but every seller has a reason for selling. You just want to make it amazing and powerful and build it up. And sometimes sellers will say, well, gosh, we're afraid that if you say that we're so motivated to sell and we urgently want to sell, this is going to cause people to make lower offers. No, not if you do it right. What it does is actually you use it to justify why your list price is so amazing. It actually, you say that the sellers, their huge motivation, their urgency for selling is why they price the home so right at this unbelievable list price. So you're actually using it. You tell sellers that when you're listing, you're actually using it to do what? To reinforce why the list price is so good. It's just how you do it. So that's a little bonus there. And again, higher list prices commonly result in lower sale prices, and that's because these homes sit on the market and then buyers end up paying less for them later on. I think you get that point. All right. Threw in a bunch of stuff there. I just get going. Sorry, can't help that. Let me see if anybody's still on here today. So, yep, all you guys are still with me. All right, so that's good. I get off on this stuff, but hey, stuff that's made me a lot of money, you guys, over the years, a lot of money. Okay, situation, motivating sellers who say that, how many sellers have said to you, hey, I'm in no hurry to sell. I'm in no hurry to sell. Well, the bottom line is the counterintuitive statement is patience is your enemy when selling a home. Patience is your enemy when selling a home. Here's the bottom line I tell sellers about that when they say that. I say, I get that. Most sellers don't have to sell. It's not like they can't make the next monthly payment. I get that. But you just go back to where we were before and you point out to them how the longer it sits on the market, the less you're going to get for the home. And so even though you don't have to sell and you're in no hurry from an emotional or psychological standpoint, you are in a hurry. You are in a hurry if you want to get maximum dollars out of your home. If you want to sell it for the highest possible price, then you do not want to be patient. And that puts the pressure on me. You're going to see I'm going to do everything I can during my pre-marketing. And if in the pre-marketing it doesn't work once I have it in MLS, to get this home sold quickly, because homes that sell sooner sell for more. Bottom line, put yourself in the mindset of a buyer, and you're always, first question you ask is, how much is it? Second question you ask is, how long's it been on the market? If it's been on the market a long time, you are going to offer less. So patience is your enemy when selling a home. Always when sellers say that to me, that's how I respond. Situation, convincing buyers to make reasonable offers, because sometimes buyers want to make lowball offers. This is a good one. Below temptation, and I'll explain that, the less your offer, the more you'll pay. So the less your offer, and maybe it should be the less you offer. So Jen, maybe we correct that on the slide. The less you offer, the more you'll pay. So what do we mean by that when you say that to a buyer? You want to make an offer. We've done this for years. I've taught this for years. If you make an offer that's so low that the seller won't even consider it, you probably insult them, you make them mad, they don't like you. It's just the opposite of writing the good buyer letter that warms them to you. So sellers expect that they're not going to receive full priced offers, but they get mad, as you well know, when people make ridiculous offers that they're not even going to consider just to test the water. So below temptation, temptation is you want to tempt the seller. You want to make an offer strategically as a buyer's agent, and this is what I tell buyers. You want to make an offer that is just high enough below what the seller wants. And this is what we have to figure out. It's below optimally. There's list price. Then there's that price that the sellers would really be happy with. Then there's that price that is just below that it isn't what they hope for, but it's tempting, particularly if this is a good quality offer, good quality buyer, and you have a good buyer letter, as I talked about earlier. So below temptation, the less you offer, the more you'll pay. And the whole idea there is you want to tempt the seller with your offer. Don't just shoot in some offer that's going to insult them, because yeah, you can walk away from the home and not buy it, but if you really care about buying it and making a good buy on it, start with an offer that tempts them. They might take it. If we do the right things and say the right things, they might reach down and sign it. And if not, they're more likely to come back with a counteroffer, because if you insult them, they probably won't. And a counteroffer that, if we position this right and you write the right buyer letter, might even make sense and even be a bit below what they had hoped to get for the home. Next situation, persuading sellers to be reasonable, evaluating offers right after they list. You know, one of the things that happens a lot is you get an offer on a home and it's a seller who's just listed with you, and it's like, oh gosh, they're going to think they underlisted the home. They're going to just want full list price. They're going to actually want me to raise the list price. How do I handle this? The counterintuitive statement is, the more buyers who see your home, the less likely they'll buy your home, okay? The more buyers who see your home, the less likely they'll buy your home. So how do you explain that? Well, you say, here's the thing. It's the same kind of thing. The idea is that, and going back to the situation, they just listed their home. So this first offer comes in. Oh, well, my gosh, we must have underlisted. We just want full list price. As you guys know from experience, a lot of times that first offer is the best offer. And you then use the same counterintuitive statement, but you use the same things. You say, oh, this is a buyer who's early on. This is a buyer who knows the home's just been put on the market. These are the buyers who pay most for homes, the ones who see it originally, who are most excited about it. This is our best chance, probably our best chance of getting the highest price. Do not presume that you've underpriced your home, and do not just cavalierly go back and say, well, if you want my home, pay. These are the buyers. If we're going to take buyers seriously, all buyers should be taken seriously. All buyers' offers should be taken seriously. But if we're going to take any of them seriously, these earlier ones are the ones we need to do everything in the world we can to make a deal, because likely this will be the best deals we're going to see. And and that's so true. All this stuff is just true. It's just that what it's doing is it's overcoming misperceptions that buyers have about making offers, that sellers have about accepting offers. I mean, it's just about pricing their home. It's just overcoming misperceptions with counterintuitive statements. Okay, situation. Traditional agents think you're nuts charging a $9.90 commission. This one's just kind of for fun, because if you do use the $9.90 plan, you know, traditional agents say, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? And what your counterintuitive statement is, in competing for listings, the less we charge, the more we earn. And of course, that just goes back to what we're doing. And that is, if you have, instead of every day waking up searching for business, you have 24 listings and 3 buyer agents who are slammed with business that you're sharing, you're giving them all the buyers and you're earning 50%. It's a 50-50 split. And you're like crazy busy, unless you're not even charging anything on the list side. The bottom line is, I believe in the new world of real estate, the less you charge, and I really believe this, I'm not kidding you, the less you charge, the more you're going to earn. And these agents who are riding the wave down, and most people are right now riding the wave down, they're just trying to get the most they can on every listing, instead of going into a market and just totally overturning it, totally disrupting it, totally taking all the listings. Those are the agents, the less they charge, the more they're going to earn, in my opinion. Okay, that one's for fun. That was a little like just, again, getting your head into what I believe is your future in real estate. And again, whether you do it with me or not, I just want you to consider it. Okay. Choosing a real estate firm that's right for you. Okay, so this is one for you guys in choosing the right real estate firm. I see this mistake being made all the time. And boy, I am so serious about this. I see agents all the time who are making bad decisions on their real estate firm. And here's the counterintuitive statement: great commission splits don't make great firms. There are so many, I see agents choosing real estate firms, the ones that have the best commission split. They're going to charge me $4. I saw one the other day, an article in Inman. Somebody shared with me, what was the name of the firm? I can't remember, but formed by a young guy, and it was all about we're making it easier for you to compete. We are the least expensive real estate firm in the nation. I forget, it was, $3.12 a month, or it was more than that. It was like $3 a month and $4.50 a closing, or something ridiculous. I mean, guys, I get that. I mean, I understand that why you work hard for the money and you want to keep the most you can. And I'm not suggesting that that's not an important consideration. It's a way important consideration. I'm not trying to get anybody, to join me in any real estate firm or anything. I'm just telling you that in my view, the future of real estate, from a real estate firm's perspective, if you're choosing a firm, you need to be looking at firms. And it's not, if they're, first of all, there's a lot of firms that have education, but they're teaching the same old stuff. They're all teaching the same old stuff. It's like the more I network, the more calls I make, the more expireds I hit, the more buy owners I go after, the more scripts I remember, the more successful I'm going to be. I mean, that was 50 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, that's like antiquated crap. I'm sorry, that is ridiculous. I mean, so you want to look at a firm that's teaching newer strategies, because those don't cut it. I am telling you. That is, I mean, yeah, it's true. The more calls you make, probably the more business you'll do, but that is not going to make much of a future for you. I can tell you that. Is that what you want to be doing like 3 years from now? You want to still be calling buy owners and expireds and networking your brains out? I mean, do you think, of any business that opens, it's the business model. And that's what you want to look at in a firm. Look at their business model. What's their image with consumers? What's their business model for consumers? How are they bringing people in the door? That's why I'm doing the 990 thing, because so few firms have a consumer-focused business model. So I'm giving independent agents a consumer-focused business model so they can be with whatever firm they want and have a consumer-focused business model. I honestly believe the real estate firms of the future, the ones you should be looking for, are the ones that have a consumer-focused model that you believe in, that you can get on board with, that their main thing isn't recruiting more agents, it's bringing in more business for the agents they have. And I believe those are the kind of firms that are going to rule the world of real estate, as those are the kind of agents that are going to rule the world of real estate. So all I'm suggesting to you is, when you're looking at real estate firms, consider more than just the commission split. Well, if you'd like links to our webinars, you guys all know that you simply email jen@realestatemaverick.com. We'll send you audios, we'll send you videos, we'll send you all kinds of great stuff. I hope you see how freely we try to share everything we have. And the only thing that we really restrict you from doing is you can't use our copyrighted materials, our trademark, etc. But we try to teach you, even if you want to do it on your own, how to have more success in real estate. And you don't have to pay us a dime. You pay us because you want to use our business model, you want to have our materials, you want to do that. That's what we want. We do not want you paying us just for the coaching or just for the training. We're happy to do that for free. We want you paying us for the business model, paying us for the benefits we give you there. By the way, I think that is the future of coaching and training. I think that there's so much content out there that's available for free. You can go to YouTube all day long for the next year and watch videos on how to list and sell real estate. I mean, about everything that's ever been taught is there for free. And so the idea of being a general trainer, at least for me, I believe is not the way to go. I believe that I'm basically teaching a bunch of stuff that is teaching you how to be successful at the way real estate used to be, not the way it's going to be. And I believe that a lot of trainers are doing that today. And I'm not criticizing any trainers. Some of my best friends are real estate trainers, and they're teaching some good stuff. But my point is that we're trying to teach you how to get ahead of the curve rather than how to be better at where the curve was. You know, the old Wayne Gretzky story, which I've told many times. So jen@realestatemaverick.com. And if you enjoyed this webinar, big favor to me, just connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'd love, either under my Real Estate Mavericks brand on my personal LinkedIn profile, or under my 990 Sales brand. If you've left me one on Real Estate Mavericks, leave me one under 990 Sales, and just say, hey, Greg, that model stinks. That model's great. Say whatever you want. It doesn't even have to say whatever you want, but I sure appreciate that. I am the most recommended real estate trainer on LinkedIn by far. In fact, I have more recommendations than all of the other trainers put together, the major trainers put together, and you could sure help me as a favor continue to make that be true. And that's just my personal LinkedIn profile. And then if you're interested in our coaching, you can email coach@realestatemaverick.com for information on how in 90 days you will have a 20% share of the listings in your market. That's exactly what we teach you to do. It generally happens before then, just so you know, no promises, generally happens before then, but after 90 days, it is going to happen for sure. And how to earn an average of 3% on every one of those listings. And by the way, how to acquire those listings at an average of $300 each. So what we teach specifically, just so you know, is how to get 1 out of every 5 listings that comes up in whatever size market you choose. 1,000 homes, 5,000 homes, it just depends on your budget. Number 1, after 90 days, you will start getting 1 out of every 5 listings at a minimum. Number 2, you're going to earn an average of 3% on each of those listings. I talked about that a little earlier in the webinar. We teach you how to do that. So if you're in an average $400,000 area, on average over the course of a year, you will earn an average of about $12,000 for every one of those listings. And guess what? It's going to cost you in marketing about $300 per listing. That is marketing cost per listing. That is precisely what we teach. And if you're interested, email coach@realestatemaverickс.com, and either Jen or Brian, my 2 amazing coaches, will get on the phone with you and talk to you more specifically about how it works and what it costs to be in our coaching. And I'll just let you know, it's $1,500 up front to get all your materials and everything customized to you, and then it's $500 a month. So if you want to be it's not really coaching and training in this business model and do this, that's what it costs. It's basically $7,500 the first year, $6,000 a year after that. And any agent that isn't making multiple times that, well, gosh, I can't even imagine. They should probably not be in real estate. Okay, you guys, well, I'm going to go off of share here, and I'll finish up simply. What would be a good story to tell you to finish? So, okay, so I've got a good one. So back when I first got started in as a kid in, I don't know, sports and different things, and I started trying to lose the weight. I know that I always felt like, I told you that I was overweight at the beginning of the seminar, and I was overweight, and later on I had pimples just as I started losing the weight. And so I was always looking to, as we all are, I wanted to be popular among the other kids, etc. So I started at an early age studying this array of different things. I got all these different interests, and I mean, we're talking everything from ham radio. My ham radio call sign was, I think, WATJT. I learned ham radio. I learned skeet and trap shooting. I got into all that. I just was insatiably interested in flying, motorcycling. I mean, even at one point, I didn't stay with me long, stamp collecting. Reason I tell you this is because depending on your age, if you're younger, particularly if you're younger, if you're in your like 20s or 30s, even early 40s, you have so many years in front of you. And the idea of learning a lot of things, a little bit about a lot of things. There it is, a little bit about a lot of things. I believe that one of the best lessons I ever learned was to learn everything about 1 or 2 things, like real estate, everything. I mean, know it amazingly. The definition of real estate, just know it, just like I teach it. What's real property? The land, what's beneath it, what's attached thereto, what's erected thereon, and the right of light and air above. Bang, just like that. That real estate so well, it is dangerous, that it's scary. Know everything about one thing, and that, let's say, is your profession, and then know a little bit about a lot of things, because wow, does that make it easier for you to relate to, communicate with, talk to people, share stories. And that has stood me in such good stead. I didn't do it for that purpose. I did it simply because I wanted to know a lot. Number one, I couldn't get a girl to go out on a date with me, so I had a lot of extra time. So I started studying all this other stuff, to consume my time. And number 2, I did it because I wanted to have stuff to talk about it. I wanted to be popular, and it has made me a fortune. So with that, I will end the webinar the way I always do, and that is, everyone, thanks for tuning in. See you next Wednesday. I salute the Maverick in you. Bye-bye.